Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to LA Noire. Now, interestingly enough, it has come to my attention, in the face of all of these brutal murders of women, and there was one or two cases where a man was murdered too, I've realized that there's actually been only two African Americans, maybe three, that we've seen in this entire game. Which is kind of in line with a noir show. Like, certainly the African American actors in the time that in the 40s and 50s would not have been given the same amount of career choices, and there would just be less of them in general. However, on the other hand, I imagine if this was supposed to be a realistic police force in the 40s and 50s, if this was actually how the police worked in Hollywood, I imagine they would just throw away, they would arrest and falsely accuse a lot of black people, and just minorities in general. It's kind of odd and kind of inappropriate in the same sense, because clearly in the time that noir films and TV shows were being made, racism was prevalent. In the 40s and 50s, racism was prevalent, and we're not seeing it in this game, except for in one key place where they wanted it to just be pointed out and then kind of forgotten. It's almost dangerously getting close to the point where they're trying to say in the 40s it was worse for women than it was worse for other minorities by far. You can't quite make that decision though, because we are only going to crime scenes. So by only going to crime scenes, so I've got two people I need to talk to. And see, this guy's looking at something. And then these news reporters, like, in all honesty, I don't think the press should be allowed that close. But whatever, I guess it is allowed. I have an address.
Someone was trying to get her to come home.
A love letter of some sort. I don't know, I'm not gonna really read it.
We could go over to the lot and see what they know about her.
That's gonna be difficult, Cole. Keystone Studio lot closed back in 41.
So she used to work for Keystone Studios.
Maybe someone at Mensch's will remember her.
Menches. I guess the same could also be.
This is a chit for personal items, not booze. It's an angle worth investigating.
I guess it could be said the same for Mexicans too. We had one mission that involved Mexicans, and that was kind of it. Maybe two. If two missions that involved Latinos in general, if I'm remembering things correctly. A lot of fairness needs to be put on here though, because if I was to go back and actually watch every single episode of Dragnet, I'm pretty sure all the minorities would end up being at least slightly criminal or badly portrayed in a bad light. See, I can't even talk to the guy?
What have we got here?
White female, approximately 40 years of age, lipstick smudges on the face, but no writing, at least nothing legible. A blunt force trauma to the temple, nose, and eye regions. Ligature marks point to the probable cause of death being strangulation.
Any idea of the time of death?
From her temperature, after midnight would be my guess.
It's nice to not have to censor his. This. That's still a major issue.
Smell?
Very good. There is the usual evacuation smell, but it appears she's been living rough for quite some time.
Very strong smell of alcohol.
The autopsy will tell, but I would assume that she was inebriated.
So the fact that she was heavily drunk says that she's a vagrant.
Another missing ring.
Certainly seems I've been swabbing a lot of bare fingers recently.
Can you be more exact about the time of death?
No later than 2 a.m. The state the body was in, a 1 or 2 hour window is the best I can do.
Not exactly true these days. Seems like I can go talk to the phone too. The ironic thing here would be if I used the phone and then called and then had to use the phone again. Where is it? There's this police box that's hidden behind this car. I don't even know what he's calling
Phelps,
for.
Badge 1247.
How can I help, Detective?
I need an address on Levine's Liquor. Closest store to the Santa Fe Avenue rail yard, if possible.
Just a moment, Detective. Closest store would be the one at 939 South Hope Street.
Thanks.
This operator is awfully helpful and awfully fast. Like, considering at the time all I could possibly be doing is flipping through different books. No computer assistance or anything. He's being able to ask very specific questions and getting very specific answers instantaneously. I assume some of that is edited down. Now, the question is this the same guy that we met in our first case? I bet it's not.
Detective Phelps and Galloway, homicide. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
We were shutting cars over to the main line when I saw this man here lying on top of this woman. The woman wasn't moving and seemed to be in a bad way.
What time was this?
About 7:30 this morning, sir.
Thanks for your help. Have you given Patrolman Hart your details?
I have, sir.
Thank you. You can go now.
So that is a different guy. And that's literally all he had to say. Interesting. Can I climb up this? Nope. So they're putting in this guy as a necrophile, sleeping with a dead woman.
Detective Phelps, LAPD homicide.
John Ferdinand Jameson.
We need you to answer some questions, John.
If you don't mind, I prefer Ferdinand.
Don't push your luck, knucklehead.
What were you doing to the body, Ferdinand?
Are you sure you won't be upset?
Try me, Ferdinand.
I was kissing her. It's not against the law.
Shut up.
There's no
Take
law
your
against
beating
it.
like a man.
Turn out your pockets, Ferdinand.
So now our partner has turned out even worse. Then he's not helping the case at all.
Classic Carmine.
This is not the brand. At all.
Is this yours, Ferdinand?
No. I found it near her purse. I thought she could use some lipstick.
Rusty, stop! Don't hit him.
Like, how are we gonna get any information out of the guy if you're beating on him? Like, so, yeah. In the 40s and 50s, there's probably a ton of of crazy and mentally disabled people in Hollywood, and probably still today very much. And we still need to look through this through the lens. We're only seeing the bad guys, so it still feels kind of appropriate. It would be nice if the story writers were a little bit better, and every now and then just had us run into
staring
some,
at me like I'm some kind of freak.
good. Well,
You went through her purse?
It wasn't like she needed it. I took a look.
Well, I mean, that's true. Do I have any evidence whatsoever to believe it's not true?
Did you take any money?
Wasn't any to take. I found her lipstick and her matchbook over on the mat. Not much else.
You found the body?
Yes, I did. I work here. I was coming off shift and headed home.
Let's doubt that.
Why didn't you report the body, Jameson? Do you know how this is going to look to a jury?
A jury? What gives? I could tell that she was dead. I came through here about midnight last night. She wasn't here then.
Let me belt him again.
You're under arrest, Jameson. We'll see how this plays out. Until then, you can think a little on how you'd like to be treated if you were found dead.
I'm telling you, it's not illegal. Me and some friends of mine...
Clyde, you get this sack of shit into a cell. I'll deal with him later.
Sure, Rusty. Nice day for it.
So he's overly concerned with saying it's not illegal to sleep with a corpse, which, depending on what county you are in the 40s or 50s, I think that's exactly untrue.
What are you thinking, Ray?
The city keeps tossing us dead bodies. We're just running to catch up.
So it's kind of interesting. I could talk to this guy. So our police photographer has been taking photos through all of these things. We haven't even learned his name. That's not a very good team dynamic here. Let's see, I can't talk to this guy. And I could look at her again, but I really don't have anything new to look at. There's a blood spatter on the
splatter on the carriage. She must have been struck while standing up.
And I guess there's nothing else to do, so let's move on. What's this? Just a bunch of birds? Hey, we finally found some birds. But I seriously doubt the game is trying to point us towards this. This is not the same area, I don't believe, as where the abandoned car with the pig's blood was. But it's close enough. It looks the same. Alright. What I'm thinking, and I don't know if I'm really thinking this as much as I'm just remembering it from the last time I played, but I feel like what I'm gonna do is end up.
Can you drive to this one?
Fine. Where are we headed?
Overturning all of the cases I'm doing right now, and then I would get busted back down to a different department.
You can drive.
It kind of makes sense because I don't personally see how it's a linear path to go from traffic to homicide to vice to whatever the final desk is.
Further.
You should have iced those folks. You leave no witnesses, you stay out of the
I'm not
poke.
riding all the way to Santa Ana and then on to Cincinnati with you pissing in my
But
ear.
I'm tired of always being on the lam.
This is like Bonnie and
Stick-up charge
Clyde.
is still a stick-up charge, and I ain't going back inside.
But it can't be Bonnie and Clyde. Now, something that's moderately consistent with bad car driving mechanics is I end up having to pump the accelerator, which is not really what I want to do, but and if the driving mechanics are set up as even worse than that, I end up having to use the handbrake or the actual brake, which slows it down completely. Let's see, there they are, and we're losing them. I don't know if I can catch up to this. I'm trying to take every shortcut I can. This is deadly. And then we just smash them and potentially murder them.
LAPD!
Another car chase.
Calling KGPL. Code 4 at the Lucas Avenue trolley station. The 459 suspects are in custody.
Roger, 11K. All units, code 4 on the 459.
Really boring there. I mean, that could have been a interesting case in itself. Let's see. You can really see how. Let's see. Do we want to go to the liquor store or Minch's bar? Let's go to the liquor store first. If they had held back the 40 street crimes and decided, well, each one of those are going to be released every week and we're going to write more story to them and put more gameplay in it. Something like the new Hitman release kind of does. Then they would have been able to stagger.
Yeah, I read about that.
These people are starving. They can't do that.
Want to sell the food to fund the civil war against the communists.
Really? Guess that's okay then.
Armies can't fight without food. You spend all your money on weapons, but you still have to have the will to fight. Fortunately, the Reds will win in China.
Watch your mouth. You know what you're saying?
The people of this country overthrew a king. You think the Chinese will balk at an emperor if they are starving?
Didn't quite turn out that way. They kept the emperor and still became a communist country and they still technically claim to be, although they are really much closer to just a
What can I do for you?
LAPD, Phelps and Galloway.
Communist oligarchy.
The murder of Evelyn Summers.
And they kept the emperor for the show.
Dead?
You knew Evelyn Summers, Mr.
Robbins. Yes, I knew Evelyn. I was a good
This is
friend
one of
of
those
hers.
hard-boiled
She
old
kept some of her
faces
stuff.
you wouldn't ever see in a video
Can you show us,
game.
please?
Sure. Come this way.
Yeah, why not just make a TV show about this? Why not make a full motion video game? Cola King. You never get to buy the colas. You would think for all of that you might be allowed to.
You got some fine stock here, Mr. Robbins. No, you let us take some for the road.
Is this guy just gonna run?
He's joking, Mr. Robbins.
And so she was sleeping in the back of the liquor store. Interesting.
Guessing Evelyn hadn't held down a job for quite some time before she was killed.
And yet somehow she's
Rawlings Bowling Alley. Maybe Evelyn did something other than drink in her spare time.
like
Rawlings. I know that place. Corner of 9th and Graham. A lot of cops bowl there on Tuesday nights.
And yet, I've been working at the police station for at least 6 months and I haven't figured that out.
A few years ago, she worked in legal copyrights for music.
Well, as somebody who's a YouTuber and has to deal with people claiming copyrights for music all the time, I almost want to say good riddance. But
she wasn't always such a loner.
But I'm joking, of course.
Evelyn was reading Aristotle?
Evelyn wasn't stupid. The only stupid thing about her was her need to drink.
Oops. Investigate that further. So, she's a classic alcoholic that...
And she was borrowing books from Grosvenor McCaffrey.
We don't know if she was borrowing them. She could have been given the book. That's the problem with writing your name in a book. You might give it away. Alcohol was very much less regulated in those days, but it still is an easy way to ruin your life. Regardless. And certainly a large percentage of people can drink socially, and then some people cannot. And see, none of this is really evidence, or like none of this matters. Why is there a big dent in the ground there? I'd have that looked at. So do we go back and talk to the guy some more? He was really not helping her very much, honestly. Keeping her around all this alcohol is not gonna help her beat alcoholism. But then really there wasn't really any social support. There still kind of isn't any real social support as far as mental problems in Hollywood, in California in general.
We're trying to account for Evelyn's movements yesterday.
She came by in the morning.
A social visit? To pick up some of her things?
She had a couple of bucks and bought a quart of rye.
Let's say, come on, can you give me more information? Let's doubt this.
She was an alcoholic and your friend, and you still kept selling her booze.
You ever try to stop an addict, detective? Better me than having her buy methylated spirits from the hardware store.
So that was wrong?
Were you and Evelyn close, Mr. Robbins?
Not many people will be sad she's gone. I'll be one of the few.
I'll say that's true.
We got the impression that Evelyn had been sleeping rough of late.
It became difficult for me to have her stay here. Her mother was trying to get her back on the straight and narrow. She's old now. And to be honest, you have to have a good reason to want to get back on.
That was right.
You know a friend of Evelyn's by the name of McCaffrey?
Not personally.
Let me go with doubt on that one. Come on. Such short answers almost guarantee you need to doubt, don't they?
We're struggling for leads, Robbins. Did she know McCaffrey?
She idolized him. From what I gather, the feeling was far from mutual. He seems to peddle a revolutionary stance, fixing the ills of society. You could see how it would appeal to down-and-outs like Evelyn.
Thanks for your help, Mr. Robbins.
No problem.
And we got the radio in the background.
I'd like to make arrangements for the funeral. You think I could get in touch with Evelyn's mother?
Put in a call to the watch commander at Central Station, Mr. Robbins. He'll be trying to reach the next of kin.
Thanks. Get the guy, huh? Evelyn never hurt anybody.
So we sort of have a nice guy, but not really. Like, he didn't get her the real help she needed. I mean, I'm making the argument he didn't do enough, which is an argument you can always make, but what is this? Just, oh, this is the railroad right here. That's where the crime scene is. I would have thought this was a river or something. Maybe it is. Maybe there was a river just a few railroad tracks to the right or left of me. Alright, so next location. Yeah, it goes from traffic to homicide to arson to vice, probably. And see, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's go to Minch's bar and set that as the destination. If this case and future cases are like the previous one, then it feels like there's probably only one right way to play this. Going to specific places at in specific orders, getting specific clues, trying to find as much information as possible. And see, I might be missing out something by going here.
Drink, fellas. Phelps, Galloway, homicide. We need to ask you some questions concerning Evelyn Summers.
I'm Walter Mensch. Evelyn Summers? What is it now?
You knew Evelyn?
As well as I wanted to know Evelyn. She's a pain in the ass, always coming in here, cadging drinks, never had any money. She was in just a couple of nights ago.
Did she ever tell you where she was staying?
I don't know. I think she was living rough. She had that kind of stunk about her.
Who did she drink with?
A bunch of these guys. Ask around.
This guy is being heavily played as Jewish, and Minch's bar certainly implies that too.
You a friend of Evelyn Summers?
Who's asking?
Very cute. You know who's asking.
I know my rights.
You don't have any. Answer the question.
Evelyn mooches for drinks. I don't have any time for that.
Was that so hard?
Keep writing me, copper.
So we're actually questioning the people in the bar? Let's see. If we go back here, are there any poker games going on? Any clues to be found? We're not really even in investigation mode. The game saves at odd points. I guess it's whenever you
What's your name?
Exit or enter.
Grosvenor McCaffrey.
Mind if I ask you some questions, Mr. McCaffrey?
I'm just a starving writer, detective. What do you want to ask?
So we know this
Evelyn
guy.
Summers, and why she was found beaten and strangled in the rail depot on Santa Fe.
Okay. I see your point.
How well did you know her?
I can't say that I knew her. It was more like I was aware of her.
Do you have a criminal history?
Do you have a criminal record, Mr. McCaffrey?
Nothing serious. I've had a few skirmishes.
Yeah, right. Doubt that.
You want to save me some time, or do you want me to look up your file?
Industrial disputes, strikes, workers' rights, that kind of thing.
A regular fifth columnist. Nice to meet you, comrade.
So, if you're striking, if you're not working, if you're trying to improve the lot for workers in the 40s and 50s, you're pretty much labeled a communist, which still to this day is the feeling in significant parts of the United States where usually the parts of the United States where the workers are treated the worst and paid the least. That being said, striking, unionization, and all of that isn't always as pure and perfect as unions would have you believe too. There's certainly corruption on both sides and manipulation on both sides.
You say you barely knew Evelyn?
Yes, that is correct.
Notice he's wearing this ascot, I think is what it's called, around his neck, because His neck won't connect to his chest. In fact, it's so bad here, his neck is actually just hovering over the ascot. It's not under it in some parts. I'm gonna go with doubt, because that was a short answer.
I don't like you, McCaffrey. You look like someone who's trying too hard, like your whole life is some kind of performance. I think you need to give us something to get us out of your life.
I don't like you either, you pompous, stiff-necked patrician. You think I don't see through you and all the other minions of the ruling class?
So that was wrong.
Did you see Evelyn last night?
So short
No.
answers don't always mean
Was
doubt.
at home, writing.
So this probably is doubt.
Do you want to get dragged into this, McCaffrey? Do you want us to get interested in you?
She hung out with this powder puff, James Tiernan. They haunted the public library together.
How well do you know James Tiernan?
I know he works some kind of plebeian job at Rawlings Bowling Alley.
Thank you for the information, Mr. McCaffrey.
So we get a little bit more experience, but it's certainly taking a lot more experience to level up. Because we've been getting experience for a while now, and so that felt like we went to the right location, which is nice. And I guess every time we'll just look. Every time we decide that we're about to leave an area, it's a little awkward leaving the area too, because you just never know. Maybe there was one more conversation. Maybe there was one more thing I could have done. Maybe there was a clue I could have found. Maybe I can get up the stairs here. I guess not, because to get up the stairs I would have to, say, jump over this bar. I wish these radio things would turn off, but they just play in the background all the time. As soon as I get in the car, we get the call.
11 King.
A message from Captain Donnelly. Return to Central Code 2.
11 King, en route. Let's not keep the man waiting, Phelps.
So we don't get a choice, we have to come back. We don't know what code 2 is. They didn't ever train us on what the codes or anything meant. It's just whether the game wants us to come back or not. Did we get a Black Dahlia letter?
The captain is downstairs with Ray Pinker and Carruthers.
So we're going back downstairs to find more evidence.
That's the cop from the newspapers.
Wrinkled was not one of the things I wanted to be when I grew up.
This, I believe, is a comedian. I want to point this guy out.
I got the jitters again.
He looks like a familiar face, and his voice sounds familiar.
You're a real asshole, you know that?
Like, I don't understand why they would have so many famous people in the game. Like, your budget could have been so much better spent if you had just had the main character be Cole and a sort of famous actor, and maybe you get some sort of famous actors for the support, the bosses, the partners, but everybody else kind of just needs to be like never heard of new actors and actresses or people that actually worked on the game. Just saying, here, stand here and say these lines and we'll put you in there. In the game.
Ray and Mal have some concerns over the Henry and Muller cases, which I don't want aired outside of this room.
Evidence is solid, Captain.
I agree, Rusty. It's just that corpses keep piling up.
Copycats.
I've been banging the same drum. But the notes, the lipstick messages.
Evelyn Summers, Cartel Classic Carmine. Each woman, same brand, same color.
Teresa Terrelson didn't have a lipstick message.
Technically, you're right, Rusty. She didn't have any lipstick. But she did have a message. We found it beneath her dress, scraped with a sharp stick.
What did it say?
You sure you want to know?
Ray?
As far as we can be sure, it said cunt BD.
That's one way of looking at it.
Looking at what?
Cunt is all about access, Phelps. You're married. Yours is mortgaged. Some of us like to pay by installments. This guy doesn't like to pay at all.
Did he just confess to hiring prostitutes?
I just had to fire one of my assistants. He was a friend of Jameson's. God knows what he might have been up to.
Captain, we have good leads in the Summers case, but it's up to you to decide how we proceed.
Keep this under your hat for now. And follow up on Evelyn Summers. I want daily reports.
Again, daily reports. We've never had to turn in an actual daily report. Never even seen them like verbally give a daily report.
Put him down with my sap. We got our orders. Back to the Summers case. Get an address for McCaffrey. He'll have blown the bar. I'll meet you outside.
Mouthpiece tore strips off me at the grand jury.
So it seems like they're just cramming in the Black Dahlia case into this. Never actually used this viewing room. That almost feels like that's how it was gonna go at some point. They were gonna line up each person and make you actually point out the guy. Although that would have just added some extra work, frankly, to the gameplay, because then you would have had to make sure you know what the bad guy looks like that you want to charge. He beat me to the car. Interesting. The weirdness here is it doesn't matter as far as I can tell. It's like, even though I do kind of agree that these are all connected and it's somebody else, I feel like you still are going to have to charge and arrest the wrong people. This is crazy. I'm gonna run across the police station because I couldn't find a phone in the entire police station.
Phelps, 1247.
There was no answer or sound effect
How
there.
can I help, Detective?
I need an address for a Grosvenor McCaffrey.
Grosvenor McCaffrey. Apartment 6, 126 Yale Street, between Ord and Alpine.
Thank you.
It's slightly surprising that, well, I guess it's not hugely surprising, but it would have been nice if people were a little bit more paranoid and didn't allow phone books and databases of where they live to exist. But I suppose everybody figured, what's the worst that could happen? It's kind of like how people these days put all their information on Facebook. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? And you can clearly see the worst that can happen is the police can have KGPL look up the address of anybody they want and hunt you down.
Let me pose a question. Depends. What's it got to do with morals?
And considering how several of these people may be wrongfully imprisoned.
The poor son of a bitch in the Slam River found out.
Now, am I going to get to actually bowl? Because that was something that was in one of the GTA games. Or is this going to turn out to be a shootout? I could see that too. It could be a chase. I could see that too. Or am I actually going to be allowed in this building?
Hello, Rusty. Two on your usual lane?
Oh, look at that old
Detective
lady.
Phelps. Homicide.
She should be retired, not working.
What's your shoe size?
Look at those flat shoes in the background.
You got a guy who works here by the name of Tiernan?
Sure we do. He's a pin setter. Clears the jams, works the gutters. Go right in. He'll be hopping around the lanes toward the back. He's a nice boy.
Thanks, ma'am. Let's go get him.
It's like the balls here are almost perfectly round, slightly low polygon. If you get really close to them, you can see by modern standards they could be rounder. They kind of look like heads of cabbage more than bowling balls. And as far as I can tell, none of them have visible holes. I guess they do. There's one right there.
The skeleton goes into a bar and orders a beer and a mop.
The main reason Santa's so jolly is because he knows all the bad.
And so, no bowling. Notice here, no electronic bowling in the 40s and 50s at all. So, it's simply you put the score on, and if you use these light systems, I think you can project what you're writing using kind of a prism.
Make you any more Christian than standing in a garage makes you a car.
A nice thing about egotists, they don't talk about other people.
There's a whole bunch of lines here that they just gave.
You wait. 5 years from now, all our jobs will be done by robots.
That seem to have been just randomly written for people. They sound like test lines, and that would be a scary thought. Is they brought you in to do a test to give you a job, recorded your test lines, put it in the game, and then didn't pay you. Now I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that would be a very bad thing to do unethically. But that's kind of what it sounds like.
LAPD!
Anyway, getting back to the game, we're chasing again. And they're having us chase through all of this section as a cutscene, which just kind of proves what I've been saying up to this point, is that it should just all be a cutscene, always.
There.
Like, there's really no reason to spend the effort to actually
We might go
animate.
faster if we weren't carrying the extra weight.
You're gonna call
These are
him fat?
flashy cars to be parked outside a bowling alley.
The lanes attract a fast-living individual with money to burn.
Or a middle-aged individual with the need to feel virile.
I don't believe I even
Another
unlocked a
runner.
car
At
here.
least we've got a suspect.
Why do they always run? I'm sure we've got the wrong person in more than one of these homicides, but they always seem to lam it.
You know, your theories are not airtight by any means.
Phelps, you gotta get me closer.
If this isn't the killer, we can at least get him for reckless endangerment.
That's unless he runs into a wall and saves us all the trouble.
Hit him, Cole. Spin him out.
Going through the square.
Hope the people see him in time to get out of the way.
I'll try to shoot out his tires. Wish me luck. Hit him. Clean this asshole
Now,
off
there
the
is an achievement for a
What if
bulletproof
they run
shield.
with someone setting them up because they feel like the deck is stacked against them?
I don't make up ridiculous stories for them, dude. Leave that to the first imagination.
See, the problem though is then that makes them aware of all the evidence that's getting planted on
Well,
them.
it doesn't kill us. I'm okay with it.
This guy's gonna get slammed by a train if we're not
Don't
careful.
go to sleep on me. Get me back in close.
That is the end of that. About fucking time.
Again with the cussing.
Don't catch that train, Phelps.
Hands behind your head.
Hey, and the train stopped. Apparently it wasn't moving that fast. Like, all of them claim innocence, but none of them say they've been framed. None of them give testimony to say, I found this here. Somebody put this here. That I really didn't do this. Not at least one of them should be better at communicating than they seem to be. That being said, the story is heavily written in such a way as to ensure that we probably wouldn't have guessed this way. I don't think when I first played this I would have been so far down the path of thinking that the people were being framed. Which means I'm probably just, by having played the game once, spoiling things for people who haven't seen the story before. In the same way that I suppose if you have seen a movie with a twist once, you can't really help but avoid it. Say, for example, The Sixth Sense. Like that. Interesting that cars stopped moving. All these cars are jammed up over here.
Hey, there's such a thing as soap, you know.
This red light is in the way.
Out of the car, police.
I find one goddamn thing.
And so we actually had some animation extra there where we took the car and commandeered it. I suppose that's a good reason to have your address in your car in case it's highly unlikely in modern times that somebody would commandeer a car. It kind of didn't probably happen that often even then. But if you have proof of insurance in your car and it's an up-to-date version, it should have your address and name and stuff so the police could get the car back to you, which one would hope they would do. But frankly, it probably creates such a amount of confusion and resentment that short of the biggest emergency ever, I don't think anybody would commandeer it. And it may not even be illegal or constitutional, come to think of it, because the Constitution protects its citizens in the United States against unlawful searches and seizures, and this would almost certainly risk being classified as an unlawful seizure of a vehicle, even temporarily. And it puts such a high risk of insurance and damage to somebody else's car. So that's the door we're supposed to go in. Let's go upstairs and see what the rest of the building looks like. We got a guy just standing there. We've got roof access. So we may end up running to the roof. I guess we could see how far this goes. Hey, he is there.
Grosvenor McCaffrey.
Oops.
Running on a hangover, McCaffrey? Sit down and we'll talk.
I'll go get our wheels.
Where'd he go? I missed it. And so, hopefully, because I made a mistake, we'll find that the apartment was closed and there was really nothing that could have been done with it. Otherwise, there's clues that would have been missed. I'm so far, but it seems like you can't really lose a suspect in the same way that you can lose a suspect in a car. Here we have some good citizens on the sides pointing out the criminal.
Runner McCaffrey, stay and fight the good fight.
I'm trying to hit B, and I can't pull out my gun. which I can tap A.
Can't we talk about this?
Not anymore, you just punched me. If you wanted to talk, you shouldn't have run in the first place. See, I don't understand what you're supposed to do after you grapple somebody. Oh, you're supposed to hit Y again. And then you slam his head against a wall so he has brain damage and can't tell you anything. Great move.
Search the place, Phelps. We're looking for something solid that ties McCaffrey to the crime scene.
And the game puts us right back here. Interesting. Because even the game knows that I'm not going to go anywhere without it. Let's see. I don't think our stats have really changed too much, but it's been another 45 minutes. Feels like the cases are going to get longer and longer. We haven't gotten any new outfits. I think there's probably only 8 at most in the entire game. Anyways, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.